Hello, everybody. It's Dave Neal, stand-up comic and host of Bachelor Nation News. In this video, we have Bryan Abasolo, Dr. Abs, speaking about his pending divorce with Rachel Lindsay. He's actually in the comments section sharing some very insightful things. Some folks in the very toxic Reddit communities are actually saying, hey, not bad, not a bad thought of what he's saying. And others are saying, I don't buy it. It's all about the trying to, see who's going to divvy up the property value. There always has to be some sort of negative connotation as to why things go down. Follow me on Instagram at DNeals. If you want a good laugh, I'll be over there. Stand-up show this Thursday in Nashville. And also Bachelor Rush Hour, the morning and afternoon podcast. I've got great news on the afternoon's Rush Hour. Did they find Amelia Earhart's plane? I've got crazy stories like that. I've got, rhinoceros conservation. I've got lighthearted stuff along with some other entertainment and some maybe pop culture news. Okay, so let's jump into this story. We start with Bryan Abasolo posting this photo last night, looking very svelte is the term here. Nature's clock is set by the sun. Take a moment to synchronize and let the sunshine guide your rhythm. And then he shows a nice photo of him with the, there he is. He looks like the type of guy at the mall who tries to sell you Dead Sea salt scrub. He's like, my friend, give me your hand. And then next thing you know, you're buying like $1,000 worth of products. That's what he looks like. But Bryan's a really nice guy. I got to tell you, I've gone to his chiropractor business and he seems very competent in what he does. And no surprise, he's not throwing Rachel under the bus here. I'm going to share some of the things he has said and what Rachel may or may not be thinking. Now, of course, he filed for divorce. Up until weeks before that moment, they were still, I guess, trying to work things out. In most cases, and I could be wrong, but I would think in most cases, both parties know when a divorce is coming. Maybe you have that final fight and you go, you know what, it's just not working. We should do this. I'm going to go do this. But in some cases, I guess you surprise the other person, which that's what it appears Bryan may have done. We don't know the full story, though. So either way, S.J. Forrester said, not good for marriage to be across the country from each other. She put her newfound career before her marriage. Been married 36 years. Sacrifice is a part of it. Now, of course, people have good intentions when they sort of support Bryan, but Rachel gets a hell of a lot of criticism from the Bachelor community. In part, people say she's too outspoken. She's the reason Chris Harrison got fired. And again, is it racism? Is it people not liking a strong personality type? You guys can be the judge of what it is. You'd have to look at it on a case by case level. But she gets a lot of grief. I think we all can agree. But Bryan here responds in her defense. So here's what Bryan had to say. A lengthy response. Congrats on the 36 years. Wow. To be fair, we've been living together for almost 3 years here in LA. Not sure why people think we've been apart this entire time. Yes, her career came first, but there were opportunities for her that were smart for her to take, which could have not been offered later. It's hard as it is for women of color to get big gigs, which I've observed through watching Rachel's efforts. I didn't have anything lined up for me in LA, but we were a team, so I closed up shop, uprooted, and opened up a new business in LA. It's not just women who should be expected to sacrifice, but a man can do it too. Her building her future was not the problem. I would encourage anyone to pursue their dreams and hope they have a healthy support system to do so. Now, this comment is a good comment. It's a very well-framed comment. And a lot of people have said, well, Dave, he filed for, support, for marital support. Well, you have to look at this. Maybe they have, mutual agreement where she pursued big opportunities in LA. They needed the relationship to work, so he said, all right, I'm going to come to LA even though I've got no business being there. I've already got my successful thing in Miami, whatever. Maybe he's $200K in the hole. Maybe she's $250K in profit. And then, I think it would be fair to talk about what is right for who and all that stuff. That's a hard conversation to have when we're looking at traditional roles of men being providers. It's very archaic actually, and in some ways, you could call it sexist to say the person in the relationship who wasn't succeeding financially shouldn't get some sort of thing from the other person, right? Wouldn't that be a sexist thing to say? But I'm not here to turn this around on anybody, but it is a masterclass on the way he handles it, because he states publicly, I had nothing lined up. I sacrificed my business to go move to LA. And, and he actually does that reverse Uno, where he says, hey, women shouldn't be the only one who sacrificed their careers. I mean, imagine if it were reversed. And don't get me wrong, she did move to Miami. She did do things for him. They kind of were figuring it all out. And maybe they thought, well, we need to at least be in the same city. And then after 3 years in the same city, they were like, look, we gave it the old college try. It just ain't working. But if it were the other way around, where she kind of uprooted her career for him and his career was taking off, I think you would expect him to sort of pay her some sort of marital support. I'm not too sure. I don't know what deals they have worked out. She's a lawyer, so I'm sure she will get good representation to figure this all out. I hope she shares her truth. I hope she discusses this heartbreak and all the things that go into it. Could it just be a game that Bryan's playing where he's pretending to be the good guy? I mean, no offense to Bryan. I texted him this morning saying, I hope you're doing okay. I mean, no offense to him. I don't think he's smart enough to manipulate in that sort of way. I think and again, no disrespect, I think this is how he feels, which is, it just wasn't working out. It just wasn't working out. And so often in Bachelor Nation, but who's the bad guy? It just wasn't working out. It doesn't have anything to do with the fact that it just was really complicated from the start, and they did a lot of things. They made a lot farther than most couples. Here's some other comments he responded to. Someone said, such a handsome man, and too bad that Rachel didn't want family. He's ready to be a father. Bryan corrects this person. Rachel did want a family. Things happen as they're meant to happen. God bless. So I think this is a positive that Bryan is shutting down some of these rumors that it's all Rachel's fault and, Bryan's the one. No, he's shutting it down. You relocated your business from Florida to LA. She was an attorney in Dallas. You tried. Sorry it didn't work. His response, yes, we did try and lived in LA for almost 3 years. Couples therapy and all. So they gave it the old college try. Does that mean you're moving back to Florida? He said, I had a practice in Florida, which I closed and moved to open a new one in LA. It's starting to be profitable, so I will be staying here for the foreseeable future. I got to tell you, I have no problem supporting things that I think are good. Of course, I make fun of chiropractors all the time because I do think generally they're kooky. It doesn't mean there aren't great things you can do if you've got skeletal issues or some sort of imbalance, this or that. But we've got Bryan over here, and for whatever reason, it's not loading. It can't be because of my blazing fast internet. It must be. I've had issues with Instagram all week long here. On my desktop. I don't know what it is. Either way, in his Instagram stories, he shows some of the tools he's using. I think about one of these tools he's using every day because I have chronic neck problems. So if you do have any issues, and again, this isn't a paid advertisement, I say if you live in the LA area, give Bryan a shot. Let him talk to you. And see, it's not all just cracking your neck and adjustments. It's some physical therapy. It's a more of a holistic approach than, say, a doctor just telling you to take painkillers. You know what I mean? So anyway, that's where Bryan is at. You can go check him out. And in response, or I should say, separate from Bryan's comments, this episode came out 2 weeks ago, which was from before Rachel and Bryan broke up. I shared some of this the other day, but I did want to share another clip about Rachel talking about how she's sort of dabbles in a lot of different things, which again, not bad for a relationship. It just didn't work out for the two of them.
When you were working full-time as an attorney and trying to do the entertainment, and how did you manage the stress or the pressure? Give me a day in the life.
I mean, I didn't manage the stress or pressure. I was just taking things one day at a time, just giving enough. It's like, what's the saying? A jack of all trades, master of
nothing.
None.
Yeah.
That was me.
Which, by the way, I don't think of Rachel that way at all. Most successful people think they're failing a majority of the time. I see Rachel as a successful person that wants to be a master of so many different things, an expert in these different things. But it takes time. People spend a decade in journalism before making it. I mean, she kind of went from the law to Bachelor, back to the law, but in, as a hosting role relatively quickly. So I think she's being a little harder on herself. I think she's actually extremely talented.
Totally defined me. I was doing the bare minimum in everything that I was doing, so I wasn't great. I want to be great at everything that I do. That was, you say take you through a day in the life. I mean,
like wake up 5 a.m.
Now that'll never be me. But now it's weird. It's like now that once I got to 35, I cannot sleep past a certain time. I love to wake up in between 6 and 7. After 7, that's too late for me.
By the way, I'm sort of the same way with her now that I'm 38. Getting up early, I cherish the morning. I try. People have asked what my strategy is now that I've moved to, and maybe this is a side topic you might not care about, but now that I've moved to Central Time Zone. On the West Coast, I would wake up and feel like I was in a rush to get content up so that the East Coast would be ready for it. But now, I don't have to have my first video up till maybe 10 a.m. Central Time Zone. That's amazing. My new ritual that I'm trying to abide by here as I'm in my second week in Tennessee, it's going to take a while to build this sort of habit, is to wake up, have a cup of coffee around 7:30, whatever, maybe earlier, but I'm really trying to get over 7 hours of sleep. I've always performed okay with 6 hours, but I'm really trying to be less anxious. The more you sleep, the less you crave sugar. I'm really trying to just value that aspect of my life. But I'm waking up and I'm doing device-free time on a tablet that I bought that doesn't connect to my social media, and I'm writing every single morning, and it has been fantastic. I almost crave this time. And I say that because, the year's still early. It's January 30th, but the year's still early. What can you do to put habits into your life and again, when the baby comes, will I be able to do this? I'm not sure. Maybe I'll have to take the baby in the baby Bjorn and go get some of that work done while I walk on the treadmill. I'm sure it'll adjust. But the point is take time to work on yourself. Now that Rachel and Bryan are no longer together, maybe they'll refine whatever they lost in their relationship. And maybe as competitive people, they'll realize maybe they wanted their relationship to work. If Rachel's anything like me, maybe she wanted the relationship to work so she could prove people wrong. And sometimes you just need to admit defeat and go, all right, it wasn't meant to be. Let's move forward. We'll have to see. We're waiting with bated breath for when she speaks. It could be soon. It's been a month now since the divorce papers were filed. I'm sure when she's ready to talk, when it's all said and done, we will get her honest thoughts. I can't wait for that. All right, I'll be live on Patreon at noon Central Time, patreon.com/Dave Neal for private membership. And then Thursday is going to be our big Patreon private membership live stream. I'm going to be doing some special things. I'm going to be doing a house tour, showing you a lot of the things I have going on, some behind the scenes tea. So stick around. That'll be this Thursday, but we have more content coming your way right after this.